So box.
Hi, my name is Rochelle, and you're watching or listening to Box F1 Pod. Welcome to the Dutch Grand Prix episode. What a race. Literally from start to finish, it was chaos, but like unexpected chaos. It just like you never knew what was coming next, and each moment was more exciting than the last. And wow, as you can tell, I'm not at home, so no cooking today. I am in London, but for the race, I was actually in Amsterdam. I didn't go to Zandvoort. I didn't go to the actual race, but I did get to watch at a pub live with some members of the Orange Army and other F1 fans, and it was very thrilling, much more thrilling than watching at 5 a.m. on my couch by myself. But a lot less like ability to pay attention to details. And also F1 TV and ESPN do not work for me in Europe for some unknown reason. But ESPN, but like I don't really know why F1 TV is not working here. So I can't rewatch. So there were distractions. So my notes were scarce, but let's just hope I get it all right. And I'll go more into my experience and the people I met and how exciting that was a bit later. But I just wanted to say that I didn't watch at home as thoroughly, but I was in Amsterdam and it was very exciting. And I'm not cooking, obviously. But I did get to eat a broodje herring, which is a herring sandwich. And it was delicious. I'm sure all of you are as excited about my herring sandwich as I am. Luckily, you don't have to watch me eat it, but I will put a picture. Do the pointy thing. My broodje herring. I'm going to point in multiple directions to see. I don't know where it's going to fit when I edit. Broodje herring. Broodje herring. Okay, moving on. Anyway, before we get into the race and all of the chaos, we're going to kick things off with the digital warm-up. Lap 1, F1 news. So just as I anticipated, as soon as I released my summer break episode where I said, we don't know what the Cadillac lineup is going to be, they released it the next day. So that's great. Cadillac has announced their driver lineup for the 2026 racing season, and it is completely out of left field. No one saw this coming. Valtteri Bottas and Checo Perez. So combined age older than anyone on the grid. I believe they're both like 33. I think they're older than that. I think Valtteri just turned 36. Valtteri Bottas age 36. Checo Perez age 35. So they have a combined age of 71. So it is the highest on the grid. I think that's great. I think bringing in experience to a team that's just starting makes a lot of sense. It's not a place for a rookie. I think a more developed team could use like an experienced person and a rookie, but I think here having two seasoned drivers like Checo and Valtteri is great. This is the second time Valtteri is being brought into a project to build from the ground up. Obviously didn't work out with Audi, but fingers crossed it works out with Cat. Honestly, he's got the energy for an American team. In case you haven't seen, to make as an after they posted their video announcing Cadillac did, Valtteri posted a picture of him on a surfboard drinking a beer with an American flag in a suit, surfing. Not AI, because there was behind the scenes footage that was posted as well showing him falling multiple times off his surfboard. It's just, that energy is just so funny to me. And you sometimes, Valtteri's personality, very Finnish. Like, we know Valtteri is Finnish. However, he has really embraced American and Australian energy into his personality, making him like really funky fresh. Like, he has so much weird Aussie vibes, and then he also like fits into America. I don't know. He's just like a weird guy, and I love that for him. And what I'm most excited about is that Cadillac will probably let him do his butt calendar again, which Mercedes too hoity-toity to permit. So I'm very excited to see the new calendar. Chances of him getting Checo to participate, just kidding. Imagine Checo doing that. Anyway, that is Valtteri and Checo. The actual video that Cadillac posted was like this really dramatic. The announcement is basically two people in helmets going up to a payphone that's ringing, and like you see shadows of Valtteri. You don't really see shadows of Checo, and I assume that's because Valtteri has hinted at it quite a bit. But you definitely see Valtteri's like outline / mustache / hair, but they're still wearing the black helmets, and it's like a whole like dramatic like you were chosen for this like destiny defining moment or whatever. And it's like both of the drivers like driving and then like walking up to this man at a desk like they're about to accept the mission, and it's Checo and Valtteri standing in front of an American flag. And it's Keanu Reeves giving them their assignment to change motorsport forever, and it's hilarious and so American. And in case you forgot or don't know, Cadillac will be the 11th team, so it's not replacing anyone. It'll be the 11th team on the grid. Don't know why Keanu Reeves involved. I know he loves motorsport, but lol that he's just in this. Checo and Valtteri, by the way, like they like obviously did this everything, but like they have very awkward energy. Like all the video they were on Good Morning America, they would just have like very hilariously awkward energy, and I'm really excited to see what the social team does. From Cadillac, I think you could do some really fun content, and I know Valtteri's game for anything, and Checo will just be there, and it'll be fine. It'll be fun. So I'm very excited to see where that goes. Another funny thing that Valtteri's last race, he received a 5-place grid penalty, and he will have to serve that when he returns next year to racing. In 2026, there is a new rule that's being instated that there is a 12-month expiration on penalties like that. However, since the penalty will be enacted after he received the penalty, then it does not impact him. So he will still have to start his first race 5 places behind wherever he qualifies. And another cute thing, Checo said that the first person to text him congratulations was Max, which I love. Just another, I spent a lot. You'd think that, well, okay, Amsterdam in general obviously loves Max. My friend who I was visiting, her fiance, not a big fan of Max. And I was really putting in legwork trying to convince him that Max is all that. And I feel like this is another proof point that Max cares about his current, past, future teammates and people in general. Like, he didn't have to text Checo, but he did text Checo because they're friends and he wants the best for Checo, and he's always defended his teammates. Always. And I love that. Love that about Max. I had a really long... I should write a dissertation on why people need to love Max, because I feel like I need to be prepared for more situations like that where I need to defend him to people who don't see Max for all he is. All right. Anyway, very exciting stuff. Checo and Valtteri, can't wait to see what they bring to the table next year. Moving on, lap 2, off-track F1. This is like a bit where like a kind of some bits and bobs that didn't make it into the summer break episode that happened afterwards. But Carlos posted him playing golf with Rafael Nadal. Very exciting. Spanish athletes just coming together. Grill the Grid has continued on. I believe I talked about it during the summer break episode, how Charles was basically being cyberbullied by the F1 social media account because they just kept posting how he knew nothing. It's, by the way, self-proclaimed cyberbullying by F1. But like he just like completely kept getting everything wrong. They did post one video probably to counteract him getting everything wrong, of him getting one answer right, but they also included him being like just completely shocked that he got it right, and it just made me laugh. I love Charles. Oscar Piastri won Grill the Grid, and I believe this was his second win in a row. He won last year and he won this year, and truly, Oscar has never looked happier than he does holding the Grill the Grid trophy. He is smiling ear to ear, open mouth smile. That's crazy. That's crazy emotion coming from Oscar Piastri, who I still sometimes think might be a psycho murderer or just on Xanax. Like, he is very, very chill. But he was very happy to win Grill the Grid. I think there were like there should have been like a few contenders who would be good at it. I think him and Max are quite similar, honestly, in their approach to things. But he won, and I'm so happy to see him happy. It's so rare. Also, I talked a little bit last time about the social media content that Red Bull, RB, Visa Cash App, RB Racing Bulls, whatever their name is, produce with Liam and Isack Hadjar. And it's always really, really good content. I was trying to figure out like what makes it good. But it's not just their social media team, because Visa has been making a lot of commercials with them. They keep releasing clips. It's like mini clips that they post on social of them like in the office, and it's so funny. 10 out of 10 work from the Visa social team as well. And it's just like when you bring like your racing drivers to work, and it's them trying to work the photocopier, and then like learning like workplace jargon, and like it's just so funny. 10 out of 10 work from them. All right, lap 3, birthdays. Kimi turned 19 years old. They get big so quick. There was a funny video of them at the fan stage event, and George was like, "So you're not a teenager anymore, right?" And Kimi's like, "I'm 19." And he's like, "So are you a teenager?" And the whole crowd was like, "Yes." He's a teenager. And Kimi's like rolling his eyes. So he's like, "Well, I'm just like not 20 yet." I don't think he wants to be branded as a teenager anymore, but it was pretty funny. Valtteri turned 36 years old, and a great clip of Kimi pieing him in the face. There's a video of Kimi preparing it and like running up in behind Valtteri and like smashing it in his face. And then there's like a picture montage of like Valtteri posing with his birthday cake in his hands, smiling at the camera. And then like the live action shots of Kimi running in from the side, running up behind him and just smashing it in his face. And it's just like, I feel like that is such a good example of the age difference at Mercedes. Like George and Valtteri often look so exasperated by Kimi. Valtteri less. Valtteri just seems game for whatever Kimi has up his sleeve. George genuinely seems exasperated. But I love that. I think they need some of that youthful energy. George is getting too old too fast. You're only 28 or 27 or whatever it is. Valtteri is like a senior citizen, and next year he's going to be with another senior citizen. So he needs this youthful energy in his life. So I'm glad he has Kimi with him. Lap 4, trackside in Zandvoort. Just a couple of things that happened actually trackside in Zandvoort, and I'm going to talk about my experience in Amsterdam. So there was a fox on track. That was crazy. He didn't get hurt. During one of the press conferences, I think it was during the post-quali press conference, Lando, Oscar, and Max, well, I think it was Oscar specifically, that was asked who was the top 3 in 1985 or something like that. I'm not really sure why. And Oscar is like really trying to answer. His like Grill the Grid persona is really coming through here. And Max knows the answers. The pole sitter was Nelson Piquet, his basically father-in-law. He like hints at it at Oscar, and Oscar's like, "Well, do you know the answers? Why don't you say the answers?" And Max is like, "I could not care less." And then he was like trying to encourage Oscar to also be like, I don't care. And I feel like Max's own brand of media training is slowly infiltrating the rest of the grid. Because, like, in the post-race press conference, there was like another moment where he's like instructing the driver. I'll get to it when we talk about post-race, but like he's like, you can hear him whispering off the mic, like, say you don't care, say blah blah blah, and it's pretty funny, and I love that they're all game. All right, so now my experience in Amsterdam. So we went to this pub that was showing the race. They were showing the football before. They turned the race on like 5 minutes before it started, and then they turned the volume on halfway through the intro, which was a little annoying, but whatever. There was like 5 TVs. Everyone there, as soon as Max appeared on screen, just started cheering really loudly. It was hilarious because I'm always hiding that I like Max. Not there. There I could be myself. I could be open and myself and say I love Max Verstappen. Everyone started cheering every time Max was. It was just great. It was great to be in that company. My friend and I sat at a table, and next to us were they weren't Dutch, but one of the guys was from Hong Kong. And then 2 of his friends one of them lived in Amsterdam, and the other one, I don't remember where he was from. And then there was a girl from New Zealand. But anyway, so we were talking to them throughout the race. And it was just so funny to hear the opinions and like react all together for the same, like it was just so fun. But the craziest opinion that was shared there was that one of them didn't like Yuki Tsunoda. Like, hated Yuki Tsunoda. It's like, well, he's gotten a little better in the last couple of years. And I honestly have never experienced Yuki hate in my life. I was shocked. My jaw was on the floor. I'm like, how do you hate Yuki? Yuki is like adorable. So that was quite shocking, but it was really fun to watch with them when Lando DNF'd. The whole bar just started cheering at the top of their lungs. It was great. It was so fun to watch. The only other weird thing was that halfway through the post-race interviews, after in Park Ferme, they turned off the sound and started playing like club music, and it wasn't even dun 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 Max Verstappen. It was just some random club music. It was just oddest thing. But anyway, yeah, it was very exciting. It was super fun. It was just like, you could see there were Max fans everywhere, and you could also see like everyone coming back from Zandvoort after on each of the days, like at like 3 or 4 p.m. after quali was over, after free practice was over. You could see like a whole storm of people coming in. Thank God I didn't leave Amsterdam on Sunday. The station would have been absolute chaos. And there was just like, it was just so bizarre to see so many F1 fans in public, like outwardly F1 fans. But obviously now I'm in London, and so I have to quell my Max love down, tamper it down, and keep it to myself. But yeah. Oh, also they renamed the train the Max Express. It's usually called, I don't know, when I saw it on Monday, it was called something else, but they renamed the Max Express. There were little like sports cars everywhere, and after I saw that there was a little rubber duck shop with a little Max Verstappen rubber ducky, and I'm so sad I didn't know about it because I would have totally gotten it. Anyway, 10 out of 10. Really enjoyed my time in Amsterdam during Grand Prix. Yeah, it was really fun. All right, let's move on to one other thing I noticed while in Amsterdam is that a lot of the characteristics that we assign to Max, and a lot of things that he gets criticized in the media, and the British media specifically, etc., are literally just Dutch things. They talk like Max. They literally don't give a fuck about anything. It's the way the cars drive. Like, everything is just like very Max coded. So like, I literally think he's just Dutch. But it was just really interesting to see the characteristics of the people in Amsterdam and how a lot of them were just Max energy. All right. that's it for the digital warm-up. On to analysis. All right, on to analysis. So a couple of moments from like pre-practice, Kimi ended up in the gravel at one point, and he goes on the radio, "I am in the gravel," and his team replies, "Yes, we see that." And there was a similar moment with Max where he ends up in the gravel, and his team goes, "Great job, Max. Keep up that pace." Oh, wait. After noticing him in the gravel, it was kind of funny. Also, Isack qualified P4, which was very exciting, his highest qualifying ever. There was Lewis was asked about it after in the media pen, and they were like, "How do you feel that Isack, your number one fan, out-qualified you?" Such stupid questions. And Lewis is like, "Well, I beat him at Uno." Oh, well. Also, a couple of notes. Lance failed to set a qualifying time, so he is racing at the steward's discretion. And Ollie had some work done on his car in park firm conditions, so he is starting in the pit lane. So the starting grid is as follows: Oscar, Orlando, Max, Isack, George, Charles, Lewis, Liam, Carlos, Fernando, Kimi, Yuki, Gabriel, Pierre, Alex, Franco, Nico, Esteban, Lance, what the hell? Lance, and Ollie Bierman. All right. Moving on to the race. I'm just going to talk about the major incidents that we experienced because, like, there were so many wild moments. The first moment I want to talk about is with Carlos and Liam Lawson. So Carlos was trying to overtake Liam. Last minute, Liam basically cut him off and like just pulled up ahead. They had contact, and Carlos needed his front wing replaced, and Liam, like a tire just fell off his car. And on the radio, Carlos was like, "He's just stupid. Oh my God, this guy, it's always the same guy." He was like really annoyed. And like, this was, in my opinion, a racing incident. But if we're going to assign blame, the blame is on Liam for putting his car in a place where there was no space, and basically like he rammed himself into somewhere there was no space and hit Carlos was what happened. However, back to our trusty rule that the FIA love to enforce about the car that's overtaking has to be ahead at the apex, and apparently Carlos was not. So Carlos got penalized. He got a 10-second penalty and 2 penalty points, which is insane behavior. Like, truly insane behavior. Carlos's radio after that was just so funny. His team was like, "We got penalty." And Carlos literally so incredulously goes, "Who? Who got a penalty?" And his team goes, "We did." And he goes, "Me? You are joking. You are joking. It is the most ridiculous decision of my life. Make sure we speak to the stewards after." Honestly, fair. Like, he deserves to be pissed off because it's not his fault. Like, yes, there's that rule about the apex, sure, but I feel like that's usually applied in situations where the overtaking car does something wrong. But here, Liam had no space. Liam literally had no space because he had no space, he was going to hit Carlos no matter what. So this is just like ridiculous to me. It's like so ridiculous. After the race, Carlos said in the media pen that the FIA was refusing to speak with him. He said, "They always tell us the doors are open. They always say like, we'll come discuss any problem," and they just refuse to see him, which I think is double crazy. Liam, on his part, said in an interview that he thinks the rule is stupid, but he suffered from it in the past, and he doesn't know why Carlos got a penalty, but it's a rule that's enforced often unfairly, was what he said. I believe Liam's Liam's always been at fault. He's been penalized for that, or at least somewhat at fault. Here, like, it's just not Carlos's fault. He had every right to try to overtake in that corner, and Liam hit him, basically. All right, moving on to the Ferraris. Lewis DNF'd. He basically lost control of the car, from what I understood, and ended up in the wall. It seemed like the track was getting a little slippery in that part, and that's basically what happened. It was really sad. It was like a third of the way through the race, and it was just a shame to see him out. But he did help clean up the debris that his car caused. He was just like carrying his front wing over to the side. There was another moment where debris fell off someone's car, and they were gonna do a safety car, and then you just see a marshal like bolt into the middle of the track, pick up the piece of debris, and bolt back. She probably had like 5 seconds before a car came at 200 miles an hour and hit her. But it was just funny seeing them try to clean it up. It always reminds me of like them trying to sweep up water after when it's been wet to try to get the track dry. Charles, on the other hand, was having a pretty good race. One of my favorite moments was him defending against George. George kept trying to overtake him, and Charles was just like taking full advantage of that track. He defended George off like a beast, and some of the moves were a bit aggressive, but they were aggressive in a legal way. And he just like, it was great defense from Charles. And I loved seeing the George, of course, complained about it, but seeing Charles pull off those moves so well reminds me why I love Charles as a driver. And then Charles is driving along. Kimi comes along and hits him. I think he was trying to overtake him in some capacity, misjudged the situation, hit Charles. Charles flew into the wall and was out. Kimi also got damaged, but he was able to complete the race. And it was just really sad. It was so sad, but it was also funny because so Charles gets out of his car, and then we see him sitting on the dune right outside the track of where he crashed. I thought he was waiting for someone to come pick him up. I don't know if that's actually what happened, but they kept panning to Charles sitting on this dune, and it was so funny. Like, truly so funny. He just looked so sad, and like no one could understand why he's sitting on this dune. And like he sat in a chair for a bit, then he was like watching the race, drinking some water. At the end, it seemed like he was following the race on someone's phone, but he stayed on that dune the entire race. And the camera work, just like the cameraman clearly could not get enough of this sad boy energy on this little dune. It was honestly hilarious. And I'll get why it gets funnier, but I'll get to it in a second. Let's talk about McLaren really quick. Oscar had a flawless race from beginning to end. He held that. He held the lead from the start, and I think he got he had fastest lap, all laps led during the race, pole position, and winner. I think there's only 4. There's like something like a rarely do drivers get like all of these things, but he maintained the lead throughout the whole race and just had a flawless execution from start to finish. So 10 out of 10 Oscar. Lando struggled a little bit at the start. He had a bad start, classic Lando. Max overtook him into second. That was also very exciting in the pub. Everyone just like lost their minds. He overtook Lando into second and kept it for a while. I didn't think Max was going to retain second. But Lando ended up overtaking him back. And then the rest of the race, he was just like on Oscar's tail until he had a mechanical failure. He just goes, he literally goes on the radio, there's smoke coming out. and the whole pub erupted. And then he's like, there's smoke coming out of the engine. And then he started slowing down. Max overtook him, and then he was on the side of the road, and his race was over. And it was very, very, it was funny in the pub. I did feel kind of bad for him, and you obviously never want to see someone out for a mechanical failure, because that's like less fun, but or less interesting, I mean. But like, so he gets out of his car, also sits on a sandy dune, and just looks out into the distance. And there was like a funny clip of him sitting on this dune with his head down, his helmet still on, as someone with a fire extinguisher runs past him, and it just looked so funny. But the best was like the cameraman like zooming in onto Lando on his dune, and then cutting to Charles on his dune. At this point, Charles has taken off his helmet, and he's like holding a phone to his ear, and everyone's like, where did Charles get a phone? Why does Charles have a phone? It was so funny. From what I understood, he was trying to listen to the race. So he was just like, he just stayed to watch the race, basically, probably to avoid doing any media duties. And then there was like a photographer there. I think it was the Ferrari photographer. And they basically had like a whole photo shoot on this dune. While Charles looked sad and forlorn, he posted a picture. It was just like so funny and strange. And then the cameraman also, just like great work from the cameraman. They found two kids dressed, a McLaren fan and a Ferrari fan, watching the race together. And then after they showed Lando on his dune, and then they showed they showed Charles on his dune, then they panned to the little children, who looked really sad until they saw the camera was on them, and then they started cheering and smiling. Lando did not stay on his dune. He ended up walking off. It was a really long walk, but for a while he was sitting on his dune, I did see a cute video of some fans across from him that started singing do 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 Lando Norris do 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 do, and you could see him smile. Honestly, he was rather chill about the whole situation. He was asked how he feels, and he was like, I just want to eat a burger and go home, which, fair enough. He wasn't quite as immature as usual in his media responses, so that's growth. But it's hard to blame someone in this situation. I have seen a lot of people. There's a couple of Lando fans online. By a couple, I mean like a lot, who are claiming that Oscar's win, if he wins, will be unjust because Lando got out on a mechanical failure and has had more mechanical failures than Oscar. Then there's Lando fans who are claiming that McLaren is favoring Oscar. They're like, everyone's always competing about who they're favoring in secret and like sabotaging the other person. I don't think any of that is true. Lando is McLaren's golden boy. I think they redesigned the chassis for him to fit his style, because like I think Oscar's still using an older one. I don't think they're favoring one or the other. They are in a really difficult position where their drivers are really evenly matched. And really close in the championship. And yeah. But Lando's championship dreams are getting slightly further away. But again, we have 9 races left. There's plenty of time for him to overtake Oscar in the lead. But yeah, so he's out. Lewis is out. Charles is out. And now let's talk about Isack Hadjar, who qualified 4th and kept 4th the entire race, while he had 2 Ferraris and George on his case. Just like he defended, like I saw a picture of someone like took Isaac's car and like stretched it out to like take over the whole track. And that's basically how he was defending. Like he didn't let them through at all. And it's scary to have those cars were definitely faster than him, and they were closing in on him, and he defended like a champ. And then like you do in F1, he optimized on Lando's misfortune, and ended up on the podium, his first podium, and it was so exciting. It was so wholesome. Seeing him, like, first of all, his radio messages were just elated. He also won Driver of the Day, well deserved. His messages were like shrieking, like so high pitched. I think he was almost silent. He was so happy. Then it showed him getting out of the car, and Max gave him a hug. Lando gave him a hug. Oscar gave him a hug, and I keep seeing clips of Max being on the podium for Kimi's first podium, and then being there for Isaac's first podium, and hugging them both, and it's just like a very wholesome mother hen situation. Isaac running when there was like a moment where he was looking around for his team, and Park Firm spots them, and he runs at them. Cue Taylor Swift's he just comes running over to me, that one, and like jumps into their arms, but like fully like jumps into them, like light as a feather, and they catch him, and it's just so cute. I saw a clip of him hugging his parents, and they both just looked so happy, and just like 10 out of 10 from Isack Hadjar, just like watching him celebrate this situation. So they are porcelain like bowls on a stand, and when they were taking the team picture, like where they're all with the sign and the trophy, and then they all run and spray champagne. So they were taking that picture, and he went to pick up his trophy to run, and his trophy just like snapped in half. So the bowl was separate from the stand, and the face that he made, like, and then he just like walked around the whole time with like half a trophy. And then later when naturally Visa Cash app RB had him make a TikTok about winning, when they showed him, and then they showed the trophy, and there you could see someone's hands holding the trophy together like off screen. But yeah, love this for Isack. Love seeing little rookie content. Made my heart happy, and everyone in the bar was happy, because like it took a moment. They're like, oh my god, Max is going to be second, and then another second, oh my god, Isaac's on the podium. It was an amazing moment. A couple of other drivers that I want to highlight. Ollie went from P20 in the pit lane to P6, and Lance Stroll went from P19 to P7. There was a lot of Lance hate happening this weekend, and I'm being a Lance apologist is even more taboo than being a Max apologist, but like I feel bad for the guy, and he's not as bad as people paint him out to be. He's like average, but look at this race. He outperformed Fernando. He's done it a couple of times this year, so like he's not bad. I just don't think he wants to be there. Also, in the cool down room after the race, they were doing like a full analysis. Like Max podcast was in full swing. Isack was like, you know what I found really, really useful? Defending. He said a lot more nuance than that. And then Max and Oscar were like, yeah, you do that. And then they were just making jokes and like seeing like all the crashes that actually happened. It was just really fun. It was like a proper like cool down analysis situation, and I love that. And then the podium, everyone was really worried this would be another Nico Hülkenberg situation where no one sprayed him on the podium, but it's okay. Max Verstappen was there, and Max was not going to let a drop of champagne not be spent on Isack Hadjar. He dumped that bottle on Isack. Like him and Oscar both just like, he went first and Oscar followed, and they just like at close range just sprayed Isack. And then when it was like done, he just like poured it over the top of his head and was like shaking it. Every last drop lands on Isack. I'm pretty sure they were like dry. They left basically dry. And Isack was damp. But I love that for him. I love that he got the full experience. All right, results. So driver of the day was Isack, and I'm not going to argue with that. Isaac's was well deserved. I named a couple of honorable mentions, but Isack is well and truly the driver of the day. He won by like a landslide. Dick in the box. I don't want to call Kimi a dick, because he went to the Ferrari motorhome to apologize, and he did the same thing last time he caused a crash with Max. He went in and apologized. And also it's funny, no one's mad at him. Like Charles was kind of resigned. Max at the time was like, it's okay, it happens. Like no one's like that upset with him, which I think is good, but I think that also might make him feel worse. Like Kimi is going to be so hard on himself. And I think that's why Charles also was probably holding back a bit. But it's nice of him to apologize. So I don't want to call him a dick, but his actions were dickish. And then, of course, I would be remiss not to call out the FIA for being the biggest dick in the box, as per usual, because not only did they give a completely unwarranted penalty to Carlos, they wouldn't even let him defend it or hear him out or like reconsider anything. And I thought that was dickish. Extra dick with a capital D. All right, the race results are as follows. Oscar, Max, Isaac, George, Alex, Ollie, Lance, Fernando, Yuki, Esti, Bessie, Franco, Liam, Carlos, Nico, Gabriel, Kimi, Pierre, and then the DNFs are Lando, Charles, and Lewis. The driver standings are as follows. Oscar with 309 points, Lando with 275. So that is now 34 points that Oscar is leading the Drivers' Championship. Max has 205 points, George 184, Charles 151, Lewis 109, Kimi 64, Alex 64, Nico 37, Isaac 37, Lance 32, Alonso 28, Gasly 20, Liam 20, Ollie 16, Carlos 16, Gabriel 14, Yuki 12, Franco 0, Jack 0. Team standings are McLaren 584, Ferrari 260, Mercedes 248, Red Bull 214, Williams 80, Aston 62, Racing Bull 60, Kicksauber 51, Haas 44, Alpine 20. A couple of things I want to point out. Carlos is so low, and it makes me really sad because he's obviously a great driver, great strategist, all of these things, and he's like really struggling with Williams this year, with luck, with car setup, with whatever. It's been a struggle for him. And that makes me really sad. And I'm really hoping the new regulations will help him thrive a bit more, because to lose a position where you were thriving to go to a worse team where you now have to struggle to adjust is rough. I'd be way more mad at Lewis. Or just like even circumstantially. The other thing I want to point out is that Yuki has 12 points and is 18th in this. Most of those points were achieved when he was at RB. And a big conversation now is Isaac going to be promoted, but everyone keeps calling it demoted to Red Bull. They were asked about it at the press conference, the post-race press conference. Max was asked what it would be like to have, how would they get along if Isaac was his teammate? And Max was like, terrible. We wouldn't get along at all. And then they turned to Isaac, and Isaac goes, yeah, I don't like him. I don't want to be on a team with him at all. And Oscar, and Max all start cracking up. And this was what I was referencing earlier about Max infiltrating media training for all the drivers. I love that Isaac said that. But I don't think he should go to Red Bull, but also he can't say no if he's asked, right? Like, he has no choice. And again, Yuki's not a bad driver. He was doing so well at Racing Bulls, and now here he is struggling so hard. Same with Liam. He's not doing as well as Yuki and Isaac are, but he's scoring points. He's doing significantly better at Racing Bulls than he was at Red Bull. When Checo was asked about it, he was like, I feel like I have nothing to say about how I left, because now everything is speaking for itself, because really great drivers are just like floundering at Red Bull. Max has always defended them. Oh, also, Alex did an interview where he had previously done an interview where he talked about how the car works for Max's driving style. And like the takeaway for everyone from that interview was that the car is designed for Max, which is like what the running statement has always been. And Alex recently clarified that the car is not designed for Max, but Max is the only one able to adjust his driving style to match that car, is what he meant. But not everyone is able to do that, clearly. And also the second one is definitely worse than Max's car. So whatever the reason is, the second seat is cursed until they change it. And actually, with Christian gone, where he was just like full focus on Max, a new team principal, whether it's Laura Meckes or someone else, might give more equal attention to both seats, which I think is important. All right. I think that's it for the Dutch Grand Prix. What a race. That was so fun. Look out for the video of me eating my brunch of herring. And I was so happy I got to be in the country where the Grand Prix was being held. So that was really fun. Next up is Monza. I unfortunately probably will not be able to do an episode, but I will definitely be doing an episode for Baku in 2 weeks. And we will have special guest, friend of the pod, Dias, on. Our little London lad will be on to discuss the race with me. So very excited for that. In the meantime, make sure you follow at BoxBoxF1 Pod on social to keep up with any content, especially since there won't be an episode next week. And make sure you follow, subscribe, and share the pod with any other potential boxes. Until next time, box.